Have you ever done a SWOT analysis before? On today's video, I'm going to talk our live show right now. I'm going to talk a little bit about a SWOT analysis that I'm doing with a client of mine and why we're doing it and when it's a helpful tool to utilize when you're thinking about strategy. And if you have a startup and you're thinking about like, well, what should we focus on? How should we focus on different things? The SWOT analysis can be a really powerful tool for you to utilize to get to your next stage. The reason why we are using a SWOT analysis and the reason why I brought it to the table is because the team wanted to have what we were calling a whiteboard session. We've been doing customer development. Our customer development has led us to several different customers who seem to either have a hair on fire problem or almost have a hair on fire problem. The problem with that, our problem, has been that those customers have, for some reason or another, expressed a ton of interest. This happens a lot with customer development. They've expressed a ton of interest. They've helped the product be shaped into what it is today, but then they've fallen off a little bit and they don't actually purchase the product from us, which is actually a really frustrating experience to have. And what it makes you start to wonder is, have I talked to enough people, or do I need to do something differently? Now, this problem gets worse when you're running out of runway. Runway means the amount of funding you have left before you run out of money and go out of business, right? And so if you start to run out of money and you're still trying to get to a stage where you have your early customers, in this case, we want to have our first customer, it's kind of imperative that you put the pedal to the metal and figure out, like, am I talking to the wrong people? Is there something else wrong with my marketplace? I would say that the overarching problem that this particular startup has, they're an early stage startup, and the particular problem that they have is that their product, this has happened with, I've seen this happen a lot actually, their idea and their product are ahead of where the marketplace is able to be at. The marketplace is somewhat immature in terms of the kind of practices that need to be in place in order for their product to work. So what I mean by that is it's actually a heavily entrenched marketplace, ready for disruption. It should be disrupted for sure. But at the same time, that the disruption is seen as a problem. And a lot of the customers who are already starting to disrupt the marketplace in a way that they would want to use this product, a lot of them are immature in their processes, they're immature in their company life cycle, and therefore they can't make a buying decision. It's difficult to make a buying decision, okay? It's kind of the scenario that we're in. And so we're going to do this whiteboarding session, and I said, you know what we should probably use is a SWOT analysis. Now, a SWOT analysis is helpful, in my opinion, for two reasons. So for those of you who don't know what a SWOT analysis is, a SWOT analysis is laying out the strengths that your business has. Those are internal to your company. Laying out the weaknesses that your company has. Those are internal to your company. When I say internal, I'll give you an example in a minute. Laying out the opportunities available to your company. I'm talking about, that's external, right? I'll talk about that in a minute. And then also the threats to your company, also external. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Strengths and weaknesses mean things that your company is good and bad at. Threats and opportunities are things that exist in the marketplace that you may be able to utilize to make some headway. And a SWOT analysis is really good because it's very helpful in sense making. Now, what is sense making? Sense making is the process of getting a team to agree on what's actually happening in the marketplace. And this is a hard thing to do sometimes. Sometimes nobody on your team agrees with what should be done. And what you want to do is you want to say, like, hey, look, we don't see the marketplace the same way. We don't see our customers the same way. And yet you really need to, if you want to move the needle and you want to make good decisions, and your strategy is going to be based off things that are true as opposed to things that you believe that are maybe not true. And so what a SWOT analysis can do from a sense-making standpoint is it can get everybody on the same page with what is true and what is not true. So that was part of the reason why I recommended the SWOT analysis. But the other way of utilizing a SWOT analysis that I think is helpful for strategy, and I learned this way back in college, so that's over 20 years ago. The other helpful is what they call a TOWS or TOWS analysis. And all you're doing is you're taking strengths and weaknesses and saying, Can we utilize this strength to capitalize on this opportunity? Can we utilize this strength to mitigate this threat? And so you're combining strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You're combining them to come up with a strategic approach to whatever your next decision is, right? So we did both. We did a SWOT analysis where we all like laid out what our strengths and weaknesses are. And then we did a TOES analysis, which was let's combine these things together. I wish I could give credit for whoever came up with these. I can't remember. And it's a very effective tool for that. So it's an effective tool if you feel like you're stuck somewhere and you want to make sense of what's going on so that everyone's in agreement. And then you also want to bring agreement around a vision of things that you should do to move forward in your startup. And that was really good for us to do today. We almost finished it. We need to come up with some goals and some metrics that we're going to try and test. And I think part of what this company that I'm working for needs to figure out is if the marketplace is really truly not ready for this tool and we can't find early customers. I think we can, but let's just say that that's going to be difficult. Can we drive demand by going straight to the end users? Because they're a B2B company, right? Can we find end users and can we work with another B2B company and just run the show for them, so to speak, as opposed to them buying it and running themselves? So we're gonna try that out and see, I think, how that works, but it should be good. But if you're thinking about using a SWOT analysis and you have questions about how to do that, let me know in the comments down below. And if you've never even heard of a TOWS TOES analysis and how that works, let me know what you think of that as well, and leave me a comment down below. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. But SWOT analysis, very effective for sense making, very effective for strategy formulation for moving forward as a team around a shared vision. Works really well. So hopefully it'll work really well for you. Bye.